Well, it turns out that the hostages that were saved just a few days ago, miraculously, by the Israel Defense Forces, turns out that they were being held not by Hamas, but by civilians, innocent civilians. I want you to watch this clip of Ben Shapiro talking about this, because we need to bust this myth that it is just a straightforward binary choice of Hamas and civilians. Many of them are complicit, and we found strong evidence for this in Israel's hostage rescue mission. Have a watch of what Ben says.
Now, it is worth noting here who was actually holding the hostages. So as it turns out, Noah Argamani was being held by a photojournalist, and his doctor father, the greatest kinds of civilians, journalists and doctors and artists and painters, were holding these Jews hostage. So who exactly was this photojournalist and his family? By the way, again, you don't want your family put in the line of fire. Excellent way to do this. Don't hold hostages in your home. I know, just a tip for the wise. For those of you who wish not to have anyone in your family shot, it turns out a horrible strategy for that is to work with a terrorist group to hold hostages in your home. I repeat, do not put your family in the way of opposing military forces by holding hostage. I don't know why I have to say this. I mean, I do know. It's because everyone is a moral idiot around here. When it comes to the international community, as we'll see, everyone is just moral trash. It's unbelievable. So this photojournalist had worked with, wait for it, Al Jazeera, the most vaunted of all journalistic institutions. A journalistic institution, of course, that is run out of Qatar, which is, in fact, an Iranian front state in many ways. Qatar has been the place where Hamas's leadership is holed up. Al Jazeera is a propaganda outlet on behalf of Hamas. It is why the Israeli military barred Al Jazeera from broadcasting inside of Israel, because they were trying to station cameras in areas that could catch Israeli troop movements. And then there was widespread international condemnation. Now it turns out that a photojournalist who had worked with Al Jazeera in the past was one of the people holding Israelis hostage. Remember, the line between civilian and terrorist in Gaza is incredibly blurry. Really, really blurry. I mean, I wish it weren't that way. That is the way it is. That is an unfortunate reality.
So Ben is making some really important points, and I want to expand on them a little bit, because I'd like to start by asking you some questions, you the viewer. Would you say that someone that is not part of Hamas, but is holding weapons or ammunition in their home, are they innocent? What about someone that is holding a hostage? What about someone that is providing propaganda? What about a teacher in a school that is teaching kids to be martyrs? Are they an innocent civilian? A doctor that is treating Hamas fighters? A mother that mothers terrorists? Is she innocent? A Hamas fighter, but he is considered a child if he's 16 or 17. Innocent? The world has gone mad. We have no sense of moral compass and understanding with these issues. You know also, by the way, that according to recent polling from March, the majority of Palestinians, both in Gaza and the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, which is its real name, still support the October 7th massacre, the October 7th genocidal attack. So it's just simply burying your head in the sand to think that this is just an issue of Hamas and not a wide societal problem. Ask the hostages who saw how much complicity there was. Ask soldiers who went door to door. They are all saying the same thing. It's everywhere. The hatred, the modern day Nazi-like hatred for the Jews. It is absolutely prevalent, dominant in the culture. And so it's important we understand this. And by the way, I'm not saying that these people can't be de-radicalized. I'm not saying that. But that can't be Israel's responsibility, certainly not Israel's primary responsibility. That's not how we addressed dealing with Nazi Germany. We didn't say, well, let's just de-radicalize them all. No, first you get rid of the threat. You protect your own people first and get rid of the threat. Then you can think of ways to de-radicalize. But that's primarily the responsibility of the other group, the other nation. The Torah tells us that what is an innocent civilian? What is a civilian that is should be certainly not in the line of fire? It's someone that surrenders. Someone that leaves or surrenders to the other side. That's a civilian. But you can't expect the IDF that's having to make split-second decisions fighting Hamas in an area that is embedded with civilians and is in an urban area, for them to always know who is and who isn't and be able to make split-second decisions which could cost them their own lives. They've done a remarkable job, by the way, at reducing civilian casualties, unheard of in modern urban warfare. But let's be clear that the Torah would consider an innocent civilian to be someone that explicitly hands himself in to the other side, that surrenders, that says, I don't want a part of this. And that just makes so much moral sense. That's just so obvious. I'm not saying that therefore one should go out of their way to cause, just to try and get anyone in the line of fire. No, the focus should, of course, be on getting rid of Hamas. That should be the focus. But the collateral damage cannot be a moral responsibility or failing of Israel. The responsibility lies on the other side for starting the war. And there is some level of complicity and responsibility and agency that a society has and that each individual has in that society. And that just seems to be something that makes moral sense. And that's what Torah teaches. You see, we're starting to see this great dissonance between the world's concept of morality and the Torah's. And it's very clear to me which one makes sense, which one resonates, and which one is true. I'm reminded of something that I saw recently, which was a quote from Lee Kern. I want to see if I can find it. Yeah, this is it. In terms of when we think about what it is that the world demands Israel should do, what in terms of lecturing us on what they say our standards should be, I saw this quote and this really, for me, summed it up. Okay? If the Jews did what the world tells them to, there would be no Jews. That's it. Their demands, their moral standards they demand we keep to. If we were to stick to them, we simply wouldn't survive because they're just utterly ridiculous. So that we've got to stop providing all these excuses and bigotry of low expectations for the other side and start demanding that the other side takes moral accountability and start speaking the truth that this problem does not stop simply with Hamas fighters. It is a wide societal problem, and we're going to call it out. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.